What's up guys, I'm Mr. Audio, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. In this video, we're going to discuss false harmonies and some best practices when creating them. For me, if I'm going to take a single vocal recording and create false harmonies out of it, I like to choose Melodyne to create them. Just because I feel like I've got a bit more control with their user interface, and the harmonies turn out a little bit more natural sounding, and especially if I'm going to have them in the foreground of the track, I want them to sound as natural as possible, kind of like I sang them on the record. Now, when creating false harmonies, I like to plan them out so they turn out as good as possible, and I like to try all the scenarios. Well, I'm not saying that I don't use Nectar for creating unisons and vocal synth in a pinch just to create some thickness for a chorus in a track. I use those all the time. But if I want something to be in the foreground, I'm going to create a false harmony. And I'm going to do it using Melodyne because they sound a little bit more natural. Now, in doing so, I like to plan them out, like I said. And I've got this saying that I've said in a past video about creating false harmonies. I'm going to say it again. When you're thinking of false harmonies, think about a guitar solo. The lead vocalist is the guitar soloist. You don't want to be playing the notes the guitar solo is playing. Well, maybe some notes, but you don't want to follow the guitar is my point. Think about a guitar solo. When you're listening to it, is the rest of the band following them? No, they're playing an underlying chord progression that works with that solo. Because if they followed the guitarist, it would be very hard, weird, and sound terrible. So the reason it sounds terrible is there's these things that the guitar soloist, lead vocalist, is playing that are called passing notes that lead from one note that's in the chord playing at the time to the next note that is playing at the time. And that's the reason you don't want to follow the lead of the track because of these passing notes. They kind of add to the music, but they don't add to the underlying tone, and it will sound very messy and convoluted if you try to do that. Try it and see for yourself. So knowing this about passing notes, we only got a couple of notes that we can choose from for harmonies at any given moment in the track. Personally, I usually go with fifths. Sometimes I'll add fifths and thirds if I want a really thick sounding, rich sounding vocal choir type deal. But let's just see what I got going on here. I'm going to show you how to do everything, how I like to do it, and I'm going to show you all the options just so you got all the tools at your disposal when trying to create false harmonies. Let's check it out. So here's the lead vocal.
And my time is running out. I hope my feet don't fail me now. And I don't know the reason why, I just can't make it through the night. And my time is running out.
Okay, it's a great vocal. I'm going to thicken it up. I've got a ton of other vocals playing right now, but we're just going to focus on the harmonies and the unisons that are backing those harmonies up, all right? So I took the unison, and I got this out of it.
And my time is running out.
And then I took and I made this.
Running.
And you get the idea, right? It just plays just those notes on those specific moments, the same notes that the lead vocal is playing, just kind of backing it up with some unisons, adding more pop to those sections. So now I create a double of that. Now, I like to do this before I put Nectar on it and kind of made the unison split. And this is a good idea to do that before this. But in this case, we're not going to do that because I don't have that vocal right now. It would take a lot of work for me to go back because I'm already committed to this. All right. So now, being that I'm stuck with this, I'm just going to show it to you how to do it from this point forward. I'm going to go into Melodyne here, and you'll see that I've already got some stuff up. But we're going to turn this into this. All right. Now I'm going to show you some other cool things to do. Now, you don't have to do this in one single Melodyne. I did this in one single Melodyne here just to show you what's possible. So you can do this if you want like gang vocals or something, you want it all in one track and different notes or something, that might be useful. But I like to process them individually and set the levels just right. So unless you keep this Melodyne and don't commit, it's impossible for you to go back and change those notes or edit the volumes of every individual thing. You'd have to just use an EQ to cut whatever notes you're trying to cut or lower the volume. And like I said, that's extremely hard. So anyway, let's look at this and I'm going to show you what to do. So you transfer it into Melodyne. We've gone over how to do that, okay? We don't need to do anything else. Let's just listen to this.
Running.
So we're going to tune this to a C and this to a C. Everything right there is going to be a C. Let's just double click it to be certain that everything is in the right spot. Okay, I'm going to have to zoom in because it's not grabbing it. There. All right, now this is going to be a B. So then you're going to do the same to this. So I like to move them all down. Just move this up like that. I want to move this down to B. Double click it into place. Make sure these are in place. You want them on the right notes. And we're going to tighten up the pitch modulation afterwards. So just hold tight. This is a lot of information. Okay, so after we do that, we're going to want... This is all C and B. And this one's on B. All right. And as you can see, it switches over right halfway through the measure, so this is exactly the length of what it needs to be. In fact, this one could probably be... this one can stay C, because we're playing an A here. A, C, E are the notes that we have to play. So this one can stay a C, so it kind of keeps the harmony together. And this, we're going to be sitting on E, all right? Because this is where our E is. We want to bring all of these notes up to E, no matter how weird it sounds. Select them all, double click them into place. And that sounds pretty good. And now you're gonna double click these into place on their respective parts. And you're gonna cut this, because this is not part of that one. Okay, so we're gonna leave this here. We might delete it later once we've committed to the audio. We can always do that after we've committed to the audio in Ableton. Remember, we want to get this in Ableton so we can see the waveform and see how it stacks up with everything else. You know what I mean? At least that's how I like to do things. The waveform tells you a lot of different things. Now that we've got this, we can do cool things like this. So let's just say I wanted to double this, right? And make a couple more of these to make octaves, right? I wanted to make this octave, that octave, and the octave below it on those same notes. Well, we can do that fairly easy. Watch this. So first of all, we just want to select everything that we changed, right? Hit Command-C, and then we're just going to drag everything up to the first octave. And then while this cursor's right here, hit Command-B. Then just select everything again, right? And you're just going to drag it down to the next C. And while that cursor's there again, hit Command-V. Now you have 3 octaves of that same false harmony. Now let's listen to that. Now what's really cool is you can take this, we can make 3 separate tracks of this. So watch this, right? We're going to exit this. I'm going to minimize all of these so we don't get confused, okay? Minimize everything we're not working on. Okay, so now we're going to double, all right? And what the heck, we'll do another double as well, all right? Because there's something later on, I have a feeling we're going to use this double. Now that we've done that, we've got the same Melodyne on all of these tracks. I'm going to show you a real simple way to just mute those notes so you can save them in Melodyne. All right, so for me, how I like to do this, I'll start with the first one, right? Because we're here, I'm just going to mute everything with the amplitude tool. You're going to double click on them and they're going to go white. You're just going to double click on these and they're going to go white. So the first one is just the regular octave. The second one is the upper octave. So we're going to do all of that. So let's just highlight all these notes and just double click them with the amplitude tool. Now all of those are white. Now we go to this track, all right? And now we can make all of these white. All right. So now once we've done that, we have 3 separate tracks. Now let's move over to this other track here. So I've done this and made some thirds and fifths, right? So I'm going to select what I want to keep here. And I'm going to take this and do this. All right, now I'm going to exit this. I'm going to go back up to this first one here where I originally created all of this, all right? And then we're going to mute the other one. Okay, so I'm just going to select what we need. Then I will take this and I'll double click them out of place. All right, nice. We whited out all of them, all right? You can see a little bit better picture. All right, cool. Now we have 4 separate tracks. So now we can see how all of this sounds. So let's just see how these sound together with the lead. All right, now we can mess with the volumes a little bit. Probably this one down a little bit and this one down a lot. And keep this one a little bit more full volume. Let's just see what this sounds like with the lead. All right, with just the lead.
Time is running out. I hope my feet don't fail me now.
Now let's see what happens when you create a fifth and a third in that same mid-range where your lead is singing. I like to do this sometimes, but it's rare that I find a song that it works out on. This, I think it might work out on this. I'm not quite set on what I want to do with it, but let's check it out, all right? So now that we've created this, we can mute some of these notes because we don't need them. And in fact, what's even cooler is, I'll show you here in a second. So let's just see what these sound like.
Time is running out.
Ooh, I'm liking that. Let's hear what it sounds like with the rest of the band.
And my time is running out.
That sounds really nice, doesn't it?
And my time is running out. I hope my feet don't fail me now. And I don't know the reason why I just can't make it through the night. And my time is running out.
And I think I'm liking that a whole lot more. I might create some octaves of this now, but I wouldn't do it on, like I said, the same Melodyne. So I'd want to blend these kind of to taste, if you know what I mean. So anyway, doing it this way, you can have different volumes of each separate false harmony you've created and different reverb levels or delays and all these other different options you have when separating them out like that. Don't do it all in Melodyne, even though you have the capability, but you can make it all there so you can kind of see the big picture and then just mute the notes you don't want to, like I've done here. So now let's take it a step further, all right? Let me show you how I commit to the audio without actually committing. First, we want to freeze and flatten all these tracks, but we don't want to lose the ability to change the notes in Melodyne, right? So let's freeze them and then duplicate the frozen tracks. We'll minimize the duplicate versions, mute them, so we have a backup copy of these frozen tracks. And then we'll flatten the other ones, the originals, or you can do this vice versa. You can flatten the duplicates and mute the originals, whatever you choose. It's however you want to do it. Now, once frozen and flattened, you should have something that looks similar to this, all right? You should have these 4 tracks frozen and minimized right here. And then these tracks right here, along with this one. This is the group because we didn't actually mute anything on this. Okay, cool. And then this is the low one.
Running.
And this is the highest one. And this is the mid-range one.
Running.
And you can see the differences in their waveform. You can see the low one's more wavy and the cycles happen a lot slower. And you can see the high is really compacted together because the cycles happen way faster. So the waveforms do tell you a whole lot about the notes that are being played at the time. I love looking at the waveform. It tells you so much information. Anyway, that's been the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned how to make false harmonies properly. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Mr. Audio, out.